Good morning, friends. My name is Riaan Nolan, and I'm a HashiCorp ambassador. And today, I'd like to help you get started with Kubernetes in a dev container. So for those of you who don't know, a dev container is simply an environment that goes along with your code, meaning that if you have a Python project, that you have a dev container.json file that specifies a Docker file. And in this Docker file, we are already going to install Python and the particular version that we want. Similarly, with Terraform, we will already pre-install Terraform so that when you open up this project and you open this in a dev container, you already have Terraform installed. But I think let me show you how this works. So for this, I'm going to share my screen with you. And for today's example, we are going to use my K3S, which is a Kubernetes version of a small version of Kubernetes in a Docker container. So we are going to go to my GitHub profile, and in there is a repository called K3S dev container. Now, when we are there, we can click code and we can click on codespaces on main, and we are going to launch a dev container using GitHub codespaces. Now, this project is just going to take a second. You'll see here bottom right, if we click here, we can see at the logs what's actually happening. And basically, it is just pulling a Docker container with the Docker image and all the layers, and then it's going to drop us into this container. Now, in this container, we are going to launch Kubernetes, K3S. Now, you can use GitHub codespaces, which will have this live on the internet for you, or you can simply just clone this locally and use VS Code to launch exactly the same environment locally. So the container is busy starting up. And just like that, in a couple of seconds, we have a dev container. And it will render a little startup file for us, a little helpful menu for us that we can use to copy and paste commands. Now, here is our little helpful menu, and this is the README that's been launched. And what you are seeing here is that you are in a dev container. So right off the bat, let's quickly look at what a dev container is. Well, in your project, you will have a folder called dev container, and in here will be a file called devcontainer.json. This is just going to be some settings to tell it where our Docker Compose file is, what our service name is, what folder we are going to be dropped in, and what our user is, and then some startup commands. And here we can then specify VS Code customization settings, and we can also specify the extensions that we want to. Now, if we look at this Docker Compose YAML, we will see that it's pretty much a simple Docker Compose. We're telling it that this container should be true. We want the C groups host, and we want the T2Y true as well. Then we are going to point it to a container image that I pre-built for you. But if you want to develop on the Docker file, you can just unhash this build, which means that every time you launch this, it's going to build this Docker file. Now we've got some ports that we want to make available, and we have some volumes that we'd like to mount. If we look at the Docker file, we can see we are using Ubuntu Noble. We are installing some packages. Then we are installing some more base packages in this base tools.sh. And you can look at this base tools.sh if we go here, base tools.sh. So it's installing a bunch of packages for us, Python, Go, Git, and Make, and all of these things. And then lastly, it is just getting systemd up and running for us. So if we open up a new little terminal over here, we can actually sudo to root. And we can also exit out of this. But let's get started into this dev container. So we have a little menu over here. And the first thing we are going to do is we are going to install a Docker daemon inside of this dev container. So let's do that. We paste the command over here, just allow it to paste, and we are going to press enter over here. Now, what this will do is it's going to download Docker for us and install a Docker daemon inside of this Docker container. We do this so that we have full control of this Docker container. Everything that happens in here, we can modify, we can control it, and it acts more like some environment that you would access normally, that you would be used to. Now, here it's going to start our Docker daemon for us. And we can actually see if we go Docker info, we'll see that we have a Docker daemon running here, and the C group version 2 and the C group driver is systemd. So inside of this container, we can do Docker PS, and we will see we don't have any containers running. Now we are ready to install K3s. Now to do that, we are going to copy this little command over here, and we are going to paste it over here. Now, I think it's just worthwhile that I show you what this file is actually doing. Well, it's just a little bash file with a link at the top, how to install K3s. We are determining the architecture here. Then we are ensuring that Docker is running. Then we are going to uninstall K3s if it's running, and we are going to reinstall it. We are going to set the configuration for the local system so that when we run this locally, we can actually use kubectl on our laptop to connect to this Kubernetes cluster using the kubeconfig over here. Then we are going to be installing Helm. We will be installing the Kubernetes dashboard using Helm, and we will install the Helm dashboard. And we're also going to install K9 CLI, and we're going to add some repositories here, the Bitnami repo repositories. And then we are going to print a little token that we are going to use to log into the Kubernetes dashboard, and we should be done with this. So here we are adding the Bitnami charts. All right. So now Kubernetes should be live. In fact, if we do now kubectl get pods from all namespaces, you will see that you've got kubectl and Kubernetes running over here. But over here, it printed out, we can go to the dashboard. So let's open up this URL and connect to it. So, that's a bad request. So what we need to do is we just need to go change port protocol to HTTPS. I'll fix that subsequently now. And now we can go to this URL again. So we can right click on this and open a new browser. Let me just quickly see here, change protocol. We're just going to change this protocol, HTTPS. Open link in new browser. There we go. Okay, so now it's going to ask us for a token. So the token that was printed out is this guy over here. We're going to copy this token, and we're going to paste this in here, and we're going to sign in. Now, this is your Kubernetes dashboard. And for those of you who who haven't used Kubernetes yet, you'll see this concept of namespaces over here. Now, namespace is just a logical separation for a group of applications running in Kubernetes. For this purpose, we'd like to see all namespaces. And here you can now see your pods, and pods are just little containers, little jobs, little applications running in Kubernetes, and we can see our secrets, right? Now, up to this, we'd also like to see our Helm dashboard. So what is Helm? Well, Helm is a very simple way to install applications on top of Kubernetes. So if we see here, if we look at our Helm dashboard, we can see that there's the Kubernetes dashboard running, and we can look into this and we can see the manifest and the objects and the resources that has been created in Kubernetes. So if we'd like to install, let's say, Grafana, we can select our Bitnami charts over here. We can look for Grafana over here, Grafana, and we can install Grafana. So let's just wait for this thing to calculate. And then we are going to click confirm. Now, what's going to happen now is it's going to use a Helm chart to install Grafana. And you can look here at the Kubernetes dashboard. If we go to the home, you can see that some deployment is running, and this deployment will create a new pod, and this pod will be running Grafana. So here you can see the Grafana pod is now busy coming online. It's pulling the container image from a registry, and it's actually starting this Grafana for us. Okay, so there, Grafana has now been green and it's been started for us. So let's see if we can access Grafana, right? So to do that, we are just going to quickly go into this little tab, and we're going to go kubectl get services from all namespaces. And we are going to see that there's Grafana here, and it's listening on port 3000. So we can do kubectl port forward, and I just want to quickly copy this command over here, and we are going to edit this. So we are going to do kubectl port forward, and we can see that Grafana is in the default namespace over here. So we are going to go in namespace default, and we are going to port forward the service Grafana, which we can type in over here, Grafana, and we are going to port forward, let's say, port 3000 to port 3000. So that means port 3000 in this GitHub codespaces will map to port 3000 in the Grafana container. We're going to bind this on all interfaces. So let's see if this works. Well, there we go. And you now get this pop-up that says it's been it's available. So if we click on open in browser, we can see that we indeed have Grafana running and available to us now. But so let's find how we can log into Grafana. Well, to do that, we're going to look up a secret for Grafana. And here is the secret for the Grafana admin user. Now, if we click on this little eye icon over here, we can copy this secret. Now, if we go here and we just type in the username is admin, and the password is over here that we copied, we can log in. And so here is Grafana now logged in. Now, what this enables you to do is to actually develop your applications and have a Kubernetes on the internet live for anyone to access or share. You can make this available to your friends and colleagues by just going to the port, and you can then right-click this and select port visibility public, and you can then share this address with your colleagues. This makes it easy for you to test your manifest. This makes it easy for you to quickly run commands and to just get access and have a little Kubernetes lab up and running. Now, with all of these charts, of course, there's many other charts that you can install. So if we go to repository and all of these applications you can install with Helm. And you can also filter, and we can just install MySQL, for example, MySQL, or you can install Postgres, any of these applications. So this is how quickly you can run Kubernetes in a Docker container live on the internet. But remember, I said that you can also run this locally. So let's see how we're going to do that. Well, in order to do that, we are going to open up VS Code. So we are going to open up Visual Studio Code, right? We're going to open this. And now we are going to open up our K3s dev container. And what you're going to see here now is it will pop up here in the corner, reopen in container. So to do this, you would need Docker Desktop installed, you would need VS Code installed, and you would need the remote dev container extension in VS Code. Now, pretty much it's doing the same thing. It's just pulling a container for us and starting this container for us locally. So, same thing. Here, it's giving us a little helpful menu. And so let's copy this command and paste it into a new terminal. Once again, we can sudo -i to become root, and we can exit out of this. So it acts more like a VM in the traditional sense that you are used to. Now, if we paste this command over here, again, it's going to just download Docker for us, and it's going to run a Docker daemon inside of this container. And then once we have this Docker daemon running inside this container, we can then just get K3s down and started. Now, the reason we run all of this inside of this container is once you are done with it, you can just do Docker stop and Docker RM, and it's out of your way. And you can also just quickly start this container once again. This works across all architectures, so ARM, AMD 64, all of this stuff. Also works across operating systems. So this will work on Windows, Mac, Linux, doesn't matter what you have, as long as you have Docker Desktop installed, you have VS Code, and you have the remote dev container extension, it'll work. So again, we can do Docker info, and you will see that you have a Docker daemon running here with a driver systemd. And so now back to this little command, we can copy this, and we can go here, and we can paste it running over here. Now, this is just quickly going to install K3s for us. And then lastly, I just want to show you how we can use kubectl to connect from our local laptop into this container. So if you want to connect from your laptop into this container, we're going to use the kubeadmin that will be created for us in here. Okay. So while this is busy installing, I just want to tell you that all your files is here in dev container, in etc, and you can see exactly what it is doing over here. In this K3s, it's just a bash file that it's running to download all of these things for us, and all of the commands that it's running. While this is quickly busy, I just want to show you that in the repository, I've left you a little bit of a README. Here is a quick start where you can just click this button to get started, and you can copy and paste these commands to run Kubernetes and Docker in your code space. And then I've shown you some screenshots how to get this running in GitHub codespaces. And here is some screenshots for you with a bunch of links. And then how to get this also started locally. So the intention with this is that I see Kubernetes is still not really widely used, and especially not on the desktop. It's still very foreign, and this makes the whole development lifecycle complex and difficult and brittle. Devs have to continuously push to a pipeline, push to their GitHub repo, this pipeline builds, and then only they can test. And this makes this development lifecycle extremely long. So with this dev container, I want to help you to run Kubernetes within a minute locally. Give you the confidence to test in your lab. And if you break it, just trash it and start it up again. And so help you accelerate your development journey using Kubernetes. Now, if we go back, it should already be installed for us. So now we can copy this token and we can go here and we can actually open up https:// localhost 8001, and we're going to press enter and we can just accept the search. So I'm just going to type this is unsafe and press enter and it will load for us. It will ask us for the token, sign in, and there we go, friends. You have a Kubernetes running locally. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. It's quick and easy, as much as I did putting this together for you. Please let me know if you have any questions. And till next time, folks, have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me.